I mean, I spoke to over 100 black students and their responses were shocking. Actually, over 46% of them said they'd been called the N-word or a monkey at some point, and the rest of those experiences were things like taunting from teachers and students. You can see that they have slightly changed tactic with this announcement from Kate. If we compare it to the announcement of the King's diagnosis of cancer in February, that was quite a relatively short statement, about 3 paragraphs from the palace. Comparing that with the very personal video that we've seen from Kate herself. There was a poll done just days before the coronation, and it showed that just 20% of the UK were very interested in the coronation. And when we drilled down into that, the under 35s, just 31% of them had any intention of watching at all. And I think what that shows is that we're not facing a sort of rise in anti-monarchist Republican sentiment. What we're seeing is a crisis of indifference towards the royal family.
A young British journalist telling ABC News.
I think certainly a lot of members of the public that are of colour are perhaps criticising his separation of unconscious bias from racism. Unconscious bias is a serious problem that needs to be tackled, but it doesn't divorce itself from racism. But I think it's interesting to think about this term of rehabilitation, because what they've done so far, make no mistakes, they've been incredibly successful. It suggests that perhaps the perpetrator isn't responsible, and I think a lot of people are upset by that claim, especially because they believe that having concerns over the colour of the skin tone of a child is certainly racist. And aside from the income requirement in this new legislation, there are other parts of it that might also increase barriers for women. For example, it says that an investor would be eligible if they're an active member of an angel investor network for 6 months. In your experience, is that also something that is a big hurdle for female investors in the space?
Well, I think there is definitely an education gap in terms of kind of angel investing as a whole for women being a viable kind of way to build wealth.
Bloomberg's Tiwa Adebayo is here with more on this story. What do we think has motivated Nigel Farage to do this, Tiwa?
Well, of course, I'm sure the fee has something to do with it. Nigel Farage said he's turned down the show many times in the past, so I'm sure an elevated fee might have got him to finally say yes. But more interestingly, it seems like he's hoping for a bit of a redemption arc.